Let me see if it shows on the NAMI page that we're live. There we go. All right.
There it is.
We are good. Let me put this higher. There we go. All right. Oh God, it's like delayed. Is it delayed? All right, everyone. Thank you for joining. We are here on our weekly Tuesday talk live from NAMI Greater Houston. Today is a very special day because it's Giving Tuesday. As you guys know, today is kind of the Global Generosity Day of Giving. So we have an amazing panel that's going to be kind of sharing their story, kind of sharing their advocacy on mental health, their own kind of struggles. So if you guys have any questions or comments, just put it on our comment section and we'll be able to kind of interact. So I want to introduce to you guys our fabulous individuals that we have today. We have Carlos Aviles, which is, you guys probably know him from acting on TV and movies. His current role, he plays the role of Mick on NBC's Good Girls, NBC's TV show Good Girls. We also have Mr. David Anderson III, our very own kind of Houston own community leader, entrepreneur. I mean, the list kind of goes on. So we'll go back into David's kind of big list there. And then we also have Deonte is our author, our philanthropist, our mental health advocate, our soft spoken word artist. Nice. So yeah, thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for joining and taking your time of your day to talk to us.
No problem.
So I'm going to talk about just kind of brief introduction and why we as NAMI Greater Houston kind of selected you guys to be kind of the face of something that we always struggle to talk about within our culture, especially the Latino and the Black community. And it's really just about self-care and mental health. Carlos, can you tell us a little bit about just your background so you can introduce to everyone? And then we'll go with David, and Deonte would be after that.
Yeah, Carlos Aviles, prior military actor. I don't, yeah, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now, but yeah.
How do you start on your acting? Tell us where you're from and how did that acting come into play?
I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. Right after I was born, my dad joined the service and we traveled all over the world. Ended up in Virginia where I grew up in Hampton Roads, Virginia, most of my life, going to high school there. Yeah, the 757. And then I moved to Atlanta, and I really didn't have a direction on what I wanted to do with my life or where I wanted to go. I started working in nightclubs and stuff like that, and I had two friends that were actors, and they always said, "Carlos, man, you should really get into acting. You have a look." What I didn't know is that they had planted a seed. You know, I grew up in a household of blue collar workers, so my interpretation of life was, you know, you go to school, you get a job, you have a family, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that there was other things I could do, but they had planted the seed. Fast forward, I was working at a nightclub, and these two ladies were walking past and started doing small talk about what they were in town for. They were filming a movie, and they think that I'd be perfect for it. So I gave them my information. A few months went by. I got an email from Paramount Pictures, and I ended up doing the movie Flight with Denzel Washington. And I'll never forget the way he made me feel watching him work. And from that moment on, I knew that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I fell in love with acting, but I fell in love with more so of the ability of making people feel something. And I immediately started looking up schools and started studying, and now I'm here, you know, so I've just been grinding away.
So that's a very kind of rewarding, just from a seed that was planted and you've been cultivating it, and now you're also growing and you want to grow within your acting abilities. But I like that you're saying kind of give something that people can feel,
Mm.
because I know that you've been kind of a mental health advocate with your own struggles, and we'll share that story in a bit. But it also has given you a broader platform to be able to reach individuals and kind of be vulnerable with just sharing, things that you want to share and things that you wouldn't have if this opportunity didn't come. So we'll touch on your story shortly, and then Mr. David, tell us how you how you came about here.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit about myself, serial entrepreneur, been in and around the marketing entertainment business since as long as I can remember. Grew up in San Antonio, Texas, but actually was born in Virginia, went to college in Virginia. So I know the Hampton Roads area very well. Went to UVA. But I think when it comes to mental health, my closest, which draw me to the cause of mental health, was I lost couple good friends to mental health tragedies. One was murdered, and then the other one took her own life. So I understand the importance and the cause and effect of not taking care of your mental health or having a support system to help you take care of your mental health. So I know we'll dive in a little bit deeper, but that's my basic story and how it relates to mental health. But also working closely in the entertainment industry, I come into contact with a lot of energy and a lot of people not knowing the gravity of mental health or mental health awareness. So
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And just so you guys know, my background and just what David had said as far as the suicide, I had a very, very close friend. She was actually my best friend, that had committed suicide, died from suicide in 2011. So David was very important when he would do these events. He would support as far as the advocacy and the awareness on just mental health within the Black community at that time. So me and him go way back as far as just bringing that awareness up front and sharing that story. And unfortunately, we do come through those stories where we lose someone. So I definitely want you guys to deep in a little later as we speak on what we can do to prevent that and to help others that are in need. Mr. Deonte, tell us your story.
Yeah, for me, I'm from Chicago. And I started my mental health journey in college. It came from, I was in a fraternity, I was a resident assistant, I had a full-time job. So I was working two jobs and then a full-time, student. And it was just a lot of different things on my plate that I didn't know how to prioritize and juggle. And then I learned that our school provided, that service for free. And, I kind of got rid of all of the stigmas and people thinking you crazy and stuff. And I just went and, I started a conversation, and it changed my life with in regards to prioritizing and, that last year of college. And it went from, talking about the things that I initially came from to getting a handle on that to the conversations transition into life things. So that was like my first experience with therapy, and just understanding, trying to have healthy mental health, because I was spiraling at that time. And you're talking to your friends and stuff, and it's biased conversation. So I needed a clear cut, someone who was not biased to who I am and what I was doing. So, and that just kind of trickled into all of the other different things that I do. I work in tech and HR. I'm a huge advocate for mental health. They provide amazing services for employees here. I get, I do my therapy sessions are free, for the year. I'm always advocating on that. And I'm an entrepreneur as well. I created a Bible trivia card game called Gone Fishing. I'm a spoken word artist. I've traveled the country, performed internationally, was on a TV show on TV1, Lexus Versus and Flow, as a featured artist there with Anthony Hamilton and Molly Music and K Michelle. And those different types of folks. So I do quite a few things, and with doing those different things, having stable mental health is just very important. So that's why I'm always talking about it.
So that's a good point. And I wanted to kind of have Deonte on joining us as well, because he's been very vocal on his social media platforms with just kind of sharing kind of mental health tips and just advocating on just the importance of self-care. Why do you guys think when it comes to males, especially in the Latino and Black community, why is it so hard for them to ask for help or to speak up when they're in need? Let's say, they kind of hold everything in. So if you guys can share, we'll start with Carlos. Why do you think that's kind of a stigma when it comes to just speaking out about your mental health, which is something that everyone is affected by?
I mean, I think it's generational. I think it's passed on, from my father to his father and so on and so on, that it is weak to ask for help. It is a weakness. It's a vulnerability that we're not allowed to show, right? Like the only acceptable emotion that as a Latino man is anger, and that's the only one, right? Like strength and power and things like that. But when it comes to being vulnerable and sad or anything like that, we have to suffer in silence and not talk about it. We have to be the strong one for the family, and we have to carry this burden on our shoulders and on our back, yeah, but I definitely think it's generational. I think it's something that's passed on,
David, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Carlos nailed it. I agree. The only thing I would add to it being generational, it also being cultural.
Absolutely.
Kind of, this machismo thing that at once was a survival tactic, right? To keep us safe and to keep our families safe. But now it's outdated and it's a solution for a whole set of problems.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that also.
Yep.
So you guys think, it could be a cultural thing, it could be a generalization thing, as far as just a generation thing, to kind of get that message as far as don't talk about it. It's not.
I think the bigger thing was it was a survival solution, right? Like to be strong, to be the most fit, to take on whatever comes at us, to be the caregiver and the nurturer for our families, not knowing, what we're battling as far as bringing in money for the family, being able to work, etc. And this, like Carlos says, is generational. You're talking about some great grandparents that might have been slaves, parents that are grandparents that are trying to keep their jobs and keep their families together, not letting their kids see them cry, etc. So I think we carry all that down with us from our ancestors.
Absolutely.
So what would you advise to our young generation now, our current generation? I feel like now people are wanting to talk about it. There's definitely different platforms to be able to kind of just speak. Knowing what you guys know now and what the struggles you guys have shared, what advice would you give to anyone right now, either starting to struggle or feeling like they are alone or feeling like they are fearful to seek for help just from that stigma? What would you each of you advise just our current generation and just everyone right now to be able to look at the positive side of speaking on mental health?
When I thought about this conversation, Carmen, I thought about, it starts when you're young, right? So you go to PE when you're young, physical education. I think that you really need to have like a mental education where the stigma is removed, to talk to people, to talk to either a group or even a private setting. Same way you go see a personal trainer.
Absolutely.
It needs to be like, to get mentally fit needs to be as important.
Funny that you say that. It's funny. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's funny that you say that because I speak on that so often, that this is a muscle just like everything else.
Yeah.
And the first day that you walk into a gym, never working out ever again, you get intimidated. You see other people that have been working out for 10, 15 years and they're incredibly fit. And you're like, oh my God, I want to get there. Yeah. but this is a muscle too. And the first day that you go in there and the first day you start trying to tackle your mental health or mental illness, it is going to be tough. It's going to be a struggle, but it comes with consistency. You have to consistently work on it. I tell my son this all the time. Depression is simple because you don't have to do nothing. It's easy. But happiness and working on your mental health and things like that takes work. You have to want
Yeah.
it, get up. You have
What,
to go ahead. You were about to say something?
Saying?
sorry, we had some Wi-Fi issues. You were breaking out. Repeat the last thing you said about your son.
Oh no, I was just saying that I would let him know that depression is simple. Depression is easy. You don't have to do anything. Just lay around, do nothing. And but happiness and working on your mental health and things like that takes work. You have to work and you have to want.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So Carlos, oh, go ahead. What have been some of your strategies that you kind of found helpful for you in your struggles? And then David, you can answer that after.
For me, I've really have dove deep into taking moments for myself at the beginning of my day and at the end of my day, right? Even if it's just 30 minutes of breath work or meditation, journaling, disconnecting from all types of, technology and things like that, and allowing myself to process my own thoughts, right? Like, especially in the morning, for me, the most important time is as soon as I wake up, instead of reaching for my phone or anything like that and taking on the thoughts of the world, I allow myself to process my own thoughts and doing breath work or meditation. Then I journal. Then I read a chapter of whatever book that I may be reading at the time. And then I get up and I start my day, but not before I process my own thoughts. And it has helped me tremendously throughout my day and my life.
Awesome. David, what have you done? I know we spoke about a month ago how this year has been really tough on you.
Yeah.
Emotionally, physically, there's a lot of changes. A lot of people are struggling now with COVID numbers going up. Share some of the things that you helped you overcome, some of those struggles.
Absolutely. I think, be very clear, I'm not a professional on the topic, but I do think there's things that may be common knowledge. That there's not a one size fits all solution for everybody, right? So I consider myself pretty much an introvert. I get my energy from being alone. Definitely not an extrovert, regardless of the years of nightlife and being in nightclubs. I'm a true introvert. I can't be around a lot of people and gain energy. I gain energy from solitude, meditation, prayer, etc. But to talk about this year, I think this has been a really traumatic year, not only for me personally, but for Black and brown people in general. Look at the COVID numbers. You must be hiding in a hole if you don't know someone that's been drastically affected by COVID. I had COVID. I had a friend that died to COVID, lost an aunt last month to cancer. So that coupled with career changes, right? So you have all these dramatic lifestyle changes where you're used to, and I'll make a couple analogies. You're used to one lifestyle and making one basket all the time. You can always make it. It's easy. And someone asks you to start dribbling with your left hand, and it's completely different. You're still good, but it's completely different. Well, that was this year for me. Had a great last year and a year, a lifestyle built on success. But all that was pretty much taken away due to COVID, and I had to figure out what was next. And it wasn't a financial issue; it was a success issue. And my lifestyle is built around what am I going to conquer next? And I think a lot of us look at, are we checking certain boxes off to define our success? So
right. That was a struggle. I know you personally that stopped.
Yeah, I went from selling an agency to being furloughed. I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. And while it wasn't a huge financial hit at first, paying 2 mortgages and being furloughed don't add up to a winning combination. So I definitely sunk into a level of depression, right? And how did I get out of that? I think, I grew up playing basketball. You had to have soft little wins and a support system around you that says, hey, look, Dave, we got your back. We're going to figure this out together. Luckily, I got great family, really good friends that helped step in whether they knew what was happening or not, and said, look, let's get these little wins. And I got some little wins, a couple big wins, and figured it out. And it's still a process. And hearing what Carlos said, like every day, you got to get a ground zero and do what's best for your mental health and mental care. And definitely this year has prepared me for other challenges that could come. But I know that I had to find a process that worked for me. Like I said, it's not a one size fits all to get to that zero level and build a stronger mental health.
Deonte, I know that you're very outspoken when it comes to these tips and your self-care. What does self-care mean to you? Because I feel like some people don't think of mental health and self-care kind of together. So help us kind of break that down for some of the people, especially the male. And I could keep going back into the male, Latino and male Black individuals, because my brother, I know when he's struggling and he's stressed, and I'm just kind of helping him give tips. And I even have advice to him, hey, go, if you need to talk to someone, seek a professional therapist. I had one for a couple years after my friend's passing. I actually had one for many years until I became like, hey, it's cool now. I can just take in everything. So share with us, seeking help as far as a therapist, what's important to that, and just self-care and mental health means to you.
Yeah. So with regards to, seeking help, like the fella spoke on earlier, with it being like a generational thing and a culture thing, it's like you don't know what you don't know. We see our parents, they put their head down, they go to work and they provide and they do it all over and over again. It becomes a cycle. For me, I literally didn't want to have any influence on that decision when I was thinking about it. I knew I needed to talk with someone, or I was going to, pass out somewhere just from stress. You know what I mean? So you don't know what you don't know. You got to take that first step. And when I took that first step, it opened up just a whole new world with regards to like what therapy can do for me. Talking to someone who's not biased to your situation, getting professional guidance in a sense to help you prioritize certain things. Everyone's experience is different, because you go to one therapist doesn't mean that you have to stay with that connection, trust, how open you feel you can be with this person. If you're going to go to therapy and not disclose certain things, then you might as well not go to therapy. You know what I'm saying? That's the one place where you can be completely naked, stripped down, and just, let it all out. And you'll realize that leaving that 45-minute hour session, you feel lighter. You're not carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. So that's how I went about, starting that journey. And with regards to, I've been to therapy maybe on three different occasions in my life. And this is the most consistent that I've been within the last 2 years, just because of the resources to do so. I wasn't, lack of resources or lack of knowing of resources kept me from, doing it in between time. If I wasn't working, I didn't know about EAP or, even, even this organization here, something like this would have been amazing, back when I was in college. So this is the most consistent I've been. And right now, what people need to understand is you don't necessarily need to have a therapist when something's going on. Like I do maintenance checks, man, just to, you know what I'm saying? Just to keep things going. So that's a form of self-care, going to my therapist. For me, my definition of it is whatever makes you feel good and helps you unplug from the stresses that you're dealing with. I get up every day at 4:30. I'm at the gym by 5. That's a form of self-care. Playing basketball. I write. I'm an artist. We're all artists in some way, shape, or form. But as we get older, we tend to get away from the things that make us happy. People think coloring as an adult is immature, but it's like, no, it's therapeutic. You know what I mean?
Right. It's
So
calming.
just not, yeah. So just not being afraid to tap into the things that the things that make you happy and helps you unplug from the stresses, that you're dealing with, even if it's for 30 minutes. So, whatever makes you feel good.
Yeah, I think it's a great point that you talked about. I think people feel like if they seek professional help, and you don't have to be clinically diagnosed. I think one of the stigma and misconception of a mental illness or your mental health is that you have to be diagnosed.
Carm.
I think we got stuff.
All right, Carm's froze. Live TV.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and share some stuff. I do think that through Carmen and my mutual friend, as well as my own friend that passed, I think that, and you guys can probably chime in, when you see a friend in help or need, I think that the application to approach them is always different as well, right? So I think some friends of mine that I know are battling mental health, being there and just consistently knowing I'm there without being overly zealous is one approach. And then some friends need you to actually physically be there and show that presence is there. So I think as someone, as a human being, it's important you establish with whoever your support system is, what your preference is, right? Because sometimes you think you're doing the right thing by being around, but if I'm an introvert, I really need time to digest. Whereas if I'm an extrovert, I'm looking at you crazy. Like, you saw I was sad. Why weren't you around?
Yeah. Well, I think that's why it's important for us to really listen, right? Instead of listening with wanting to respond, really listening and allowing that person to give you the invite. That we'll always tell you, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think we too often listen with wanting to give an answer and listen with wanting to give advice, when most of the time you just got to let people, you know what I'm saying? Like, just giving them a safe space. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's huge, man. Because I'm that type of person that if I'm talking with someone, I'm trying to figure out how can I help fix their problem, and that's like not even the case. Sometimes, like you said, you just need to listen and let them vent, and that helps. So that's huge, man.
Yeah, great advice.
Am I back on?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
We had a power outage for like 2 seconds. I'm like, no, not today.
We got seasoned pros here. We know how to keep the party going.
All right, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. But yeah, I think what I was saying earlier is you don't have to be kind of clinically diagnosed to seek help. And at the end of the day, I think it's just to have someone to listen to. Can you guys share with me, you don't have to mention names, but do you have kind of your go-to kind of person to reach out if you're struggling? And do you think someone should have that? What advice would you give someone to have that kind of trustworthy and honest person that can just be there for you?
I absolutely have that. I mean, I think we've all touched base on how important community is. I stress this so much. You cannot make it in this life without a community. It's impossible. It's not going to happen. You have to have a community of people that you feel safe with. One of the biggest things that I've learned throughout my journey is, yes, you should have people that you can call on for, to help you, but you need to ask permission first, right? Before, say David is my go-to friend, before I just call David and dump on him whatever I'm feeling, I need to see if he's in a place where he can receive this before I just give it to him, because it's not fair to him to just take all this on, and then now it's off my chest and I just go about my day, and now David is dealing with all this stuff. So I think it's very important for people to, before you dump on anyone, whoever your go-to person is, ask them if they're in a mental place to receive what I am about to give before I just call and just vomit everything on them. You know what I mean?
That's huge.
Yeah, great advice.
So
That's great advice. I actually don't think I've ever heard that from anyone. I just, I just go to it, but you're absolutely right. And I think it's the importance of just check on your community, check on your loved one. You might not be having the same struggles, but someone is always struggling at some level, low, medium, high, whatever that level is. But I think that's great advice that you guys, yeah, I've never heard of that one, to ask, are you okay to kind of let my burdens, go to you and listen.
mhm.
So I have one more question here. As far as community, what do you guys think would be a good way to segue into just bringing awareness? What else can we do as a community to kind of share the awareness on mental health, and what tools can we help out? Whether it's social media, whether it's text message, phone call, what do you guys think it's effective nowadays?
I think you got to normalize it. Just wearing my marketing hat, I think you got to normalize the importance of health, right? And it shouldn't be physical health, mental health, just health, because your mental health is the number one cause of disease. Believe it or not, if your mental isn't right, it automatically shuts down your body and your immune system.
Absolutely.
And it could also trigger other things: trauma, depression, addiction, etc. So
Yeah,
Awesome.
no, I agree. Also just, whatever platform, use your platforms to share resources. I think the more you share, the more normal, it becomes. The thing is, you don't see a lot of folks, sharing things about that unless they've either had a traumatic experience or they work in that field. But, like everyday folks, like, that look regular, even if they have a therapist, a lot of folks they won't disclose that unless, they're really close with someone. So that's why I try to create a platform just to, I always say, I say it in the bio, it's like, yo, I'm not a licensed professional. I'm just a guy on his mental health journey, sharing my experiences with help, with hopes of helping somebody else. So just got to share it as much as possible and, normalize it. I agree with that.
Yeah, same. I agree with it too, like 1,000,000%. I think that's something that I do is I just make sure that I am my authentic self, regardless of who's in front of me. Because like Deonte said about taking that first step, I feel like if there's community members that that make you feel safe, it's easier for people to take that first step. It's easier for someone to be like, okay, because at the end of the day, you're going to have people to judge you regardless of how you are, who you are, whether you keep it in, whether you let it out. You know what I'm saying? So you might as well be your authentic self, show the world, and in turn, you're going to get people that are going to step forward and want the same thing, and the wrong people will step away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. And like, I want to definitely kind of thank you guys for joining in this special kind of Giving Tuesday campaign launch that we're doing. Because generosity goes a long way. I think when I spoke to Deonte and I told him about my new role within NAMI, he was like, "What do they offer again? What's going on?" So as big as you would think, our platform is, NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. It's the largest organization. Greater Houston. I'm going to read you guys some numbers here for our Houston folks. So mental health conditions are the leading cause of disability in Greater Houston. 1 in 5 of US adults experience mental illness each year. Fewer than 40% of Houstonians with a mental diagnosis receive medical treatment. And then the 3 most common mental health disorders in the US are anxiety disorders, major depressive disorders, and bipolar disorder. And I think we all know someone that has been touched by some of these mental health conditions at one point. So before we go into my next set of questions, I know that David, you brought up suicide, which is not a lot of topics that people are comfortable with. And we all unfortunately know someone that has died due to suicide. Share a little bit as far as what you would want to share as far as giving someone hope, you guys know my best friend, before I even came into NAMI and I even knew about NAMI, we provide so many free resources. NAMI, you can go to any of cities in LA. There's an LA chapter, Carlos there, and they provide everything complimentary. Everything is free. We have support groups, we have educational groups, we have family to family, which is for family members that are dealing with someone that's diagnosed with a mental condition. And it's all here now virtually. I participated in as a teacher this summer, and we reached out. We literally saved lives with our programs, and we definitely want people to know that we're here to help. We're here to provide all these free resources.
Harm, how do we support, or how do the people tuning in? How can we support NAMI and what you have going on?
Right. So today, the way that you guys can support, if you guys visit our NAMIGreaterHouston.org page, we have our giving campaign, which is a reason to give. It's a caring, appreciation, and gratitude. So basically, we are launching a gratitude gift. You can select from different levels. It comes with a tote bag, a beautiful picture frame.
What's the page?
NAMIGreaterHouston.org. Okay. So right now, if you visit our website, you just click on the donate button and it'll give you information as far as our different donations increments that you can get. So these are gratitude gifts that you can send to a loved one. And we definitely want to also, any donation of $25, we have the NAMI mask. So now that COVID is rising, you guys see our branded mask. So any small donation helps. Today, as a day of generosity, any amount is never small to us. We provide some information. I'm gonna read you guys what each donation kind of means for us. So, for example, a $75 donation, it provides 2 in our own voice, which is individuals that are diagnosed, stipends for individuals who share their stories and life experiences. They go out throughout the city sharing their experiences. Throughout Harris County and Montgomery County. For a $100 donation, we provide one person living with a mental health condition all the materials to be able to participate in some of our support groups. $300 donations covers the cost of materials for one parent and teachers as allies for the community outreach seminars in order to help educators in schools. So we do a lot of programs complimentary within schools in order to recognize some of the early symptoms. So we teach individuals the tools to recognize those early symptoms. What we want to do is prevent the symptoms before we get into something more of a crisis mode. And that's something, as far as my story, when my friend was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, first of all, I didn't even have a clue what bipolar disorder was. And we didn't really get the guidance that we needed to help her kind of overcome and help her just find her own way to be able to live with this condition, because all these conditions are treatable. I think that's one thing that people have that misinterpretation that, these are preventable, these are curable, these are, you can work in these. So I know, when I reached out to David, he actually knew my best friend, Latrice. A lot of people here in Houston met her, and we never really were talked on suicide. Like, that wasn't even like a thing, like that could be a possibility. Unfortunately, sometimes that is a possibility. I think the main thing when I would advise someone dealing with a loved one or a friend that has a mental health condition is you have to kind of accept that that person is not going to be the same as you knew them before that condition was set in place, if that makes sense. And that person has to accept it. And I think for me, realizing when I found NAMI and what it did, I volunteered for many years before I came on board here and really saw the wonderful things that NAMI did. And if I would have known that and kind of got those resource tools and kind of those educational classes that I took after her passing, I definitely see why a lot of people say NAMI really saves their lives, because we lay it out in a very structured way that you can kind of have something to lean on when you have those that people that need help. Mm. So David, talk to me as far as when you found out you're someone that you knew had committed suicide or died from suicide? What were some of the things that crossed your mind? I can share what what it meant
Sure.
for me crossing my mind when that happened.
I think there are two stories. Me not being closely part of Latrice's inner circle. We had no idea, right? So when I go back and look at pictures of her around us in the nightclub, it was always a big smile. But little did we know what she was dealing with. At least did I know that what she was dealing with behind that smile and what was going on internally, because I was in utter shock when I found that she decided to take her life. Then my other friend, we knew he was battling bipolar disorder. We knew it, and we didn't know how to handle it. It was still a stigma. We're talking about, this is still in 2003, 2004. He was one of my best friends growing up from the ages of 15 all the way until he was murdered. And not only did we not know how to handle it, the constable didn't know how to handle it, and he was murdered by the constable. So I think there needs to be a better awareness and a mass campaign, again, to not only normalize it for just all citizens, all humans in general. So not only can we take care of ourselves, but we know how to be a better tribe for others. I think that's the biggest thing, because you just never know. At the end of the day, if you don't want to do anything, the best thing you can do is just be a nice person to others.
Yeah, and that's one thing I also, part of my advocacy and part of my awareness is to let people know that dialing 911 is not the resort when you're dealing with someone, unless it's a emergency crisis.
Right.
That's one thing that a lot of people, we have a amazing program here without our constables, and I'll send you that information, David, as well. Where it's a department it's a group that is sent out whenever someone is dealing with a mental health condition, and they call and they send those individuals out. We would love to have that kind of program all over. It doesn't happen, but we do have those resources here in Houston, individual counties that these individual, police officers are out there saving lives, so I definitely would share that information for you guys, because that program is there. And then many people are not familiar, outside of handling 911, is that we have a warm line. We have our very own warm line within our center here, our C Center, which stands for Support Education and Advocacy. So if you have any issues, anytime, you can call our warm line. So think of it as like a hotline. You can just call and ask for help. I'll give the number to everyone, is 713-970-4483. And sometimes people call all the time, seek for help, ask for help. We guide you through that process. It's complimentary, it's free, and we're here. It's open to anyone that wants to reach out at any time. So that's something that NAMI is really good at promoting, our warm line for anyone that's in need of help. Let's see. So now let's talk about some fun topics, even though that these topics are fun. But Carlos, tell me a story from just your background now in acting, that looking back, just share a funny experience now that you're into this world of acting. Looking back, that you would tell your younger self, now that you were put in that situation, some advice that you would give your younger self, whatever that situation was that you kind of overcame.
Basically just to have fun, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, this is the entertainment business. And although, there's a fine line of caring and then not caring, right? Like, I think especially as an actor, we go into certain things and we overthink them, and it causes us to not really be who we actually are. Just have fun. I literally, like, going on set now isn't anxiety driven anymore for me. I have a really great time. And I think we're so scared of messing up and forgetting our lines or you know what I mean, like stuff like that. And it's okay, because everybody does it. I don't care how seasoned of an actor you may be, everybody messes up. And I think the only thing that separates them from you is that they have been doing it longer, so the mess up doesn't get in their head. They kind of just keep going. So yeah, just have fun, just have a good time, and create something beautiful that the world can see. You know what I mean?
Got it. Got it. David, what's one event that, you know, you've come up, you've been kind of that entrepreneur mentality since you were really young. What would you kind of tell your younger self, you know, being in this COVID world now, in this current state situation that we're in now? What's one thing that you would tell yourself to kind of help you overcome any struggles that you've had?
Instead of giving different advice, I'd reaffirm, keep the tribe that you have around you, because I'm very, very blessed and very fortunate to have a really great tribe and dope group around me. You know, a handful of them, Carmen. So I would just say, hey, those friends you're running with, keep running with them.
Yeah.
Deonte, what do you want to advise your younger self?
Man, just you know, kind of ignore the fear. You know, ignore that fear, because I feel like because of fear, I was delayed on a lot of the tools that, you know, I gained over the years. If I would have gained those tools a little bit earlier, you always look up like, man, like what if I could be so much further than I am now if I hadn't you know, did this or did that because of fear. You know, now it's that's why I try to do so much now. I guess I'm trying to make up for lost time, because, you know, if I want to do something, there's no fear about like having a lack of resources, you know, find a way, you know, and that's how I move and that's how I create, you know, so just, you know, ignore the fear.
So knowing that today is a generosity day, giving Tuesday, it's a national kind of special day for all of our nonprofits around the world. Yeah. What does giving mean to you guys? What is, you know, not necessarily sometimes is monetary support, but what forms of giving have you given to your friends, family, or anything else? What does the word giving mean to you, and how can we have the community kind of get more involved with just giving time, giving advice? What does giving mean to you guys?
I tell you what, Carmen, I think I was waiting for you to ask this question. I think it's not only giving you time, talents, and treasures, but really when I felt like I was in a bad place and everything actually was really going pretty good for me. And I knew I was depressed. The thing that I did was I went to volunteer, right? And that gave me a sense of self-worth from complete strangers that didn't have no idea who I was in the community and society, etc. But to be able to bring a smile to their face by giving just my time and talent, didn't even have to give money. That helped me so much on the inside. So, you know, giving that $5 is one thing, and definitely got to do that and make the donation to NAMI. But also, I'm sure NAMI also takes other sorts of donations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Giving is so. I feel like that's our sole purpose in this life, is to give something of ourselves back to the world, right? That's why we all have individual stories. Mm-hmm. Each one of us, you know, we might have similarities that we can relate to and we can connect to, but each of our stories, everybody on this planet it's an individual story catered to you. And our job is to give our experiences back to the world. And giving is so important in any capacity that you can give.
Yeah, I feel like what it means to me is just like filling the gaps, whatever that may be. You know, growing up in church, my mom would always say, like, you know, and I'm quite sure they'd say this at all Black churches, but you know, you can't be God-given. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's the number one resource to you receiving resources, is to be a giver. You know, in all things, whether it's time, money, whatever it may be, filling the gap. You know, what taking someone's grandma to their appointment who couldn't take them, or like whatever, you know, fill in the gap.
Absolutely.
So now we're gonna wrap up. We have about 10 more minutes. And I want to know what you guys have coming up. I mean, who would know that it's end of the year? We're still talking about pandemic and COVID, and let's think of some positive messages we want to kind of share with everyone. And just tell me what you guys have aligned. What do you guys have just kind of coming up? What's kind of some of your kind of goals that you want to kind of adjust now that we're living into this new norm? Carlos, what do you have coming up with your show, with anything? I don't know if you guys have even started kind of filming again, but what's next for you guys?
Yeah, well, we're currently in production for season 4 of Good Girls. I'm super excited about that. And also, like, I just recently started going back to school and minoring in African American and Latin American studies with a major in psychology, because I want to have the book knowledge also with my life experiences, to where I can give advice or help somebody out on a deeper level than just my personal experiences. But yeah, that's it. Just season 4 of Good Girls that I can't wait till the world gets to see that, and just diving deeper into knowledge on how we can help destigmatize mental illness and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Good Girls. I had reached out to Carlos, how we kind of connected on social media through another friend, one of my coworkers from Atlanta. And when we spoke over the summer, we had so many similarities that I just thought it was funny.
yeah.
Before we get to David's response, give us one of your favorite kind of scenes that you've been at on the show. Because I know your role has changed from the beginning. You kind of progress into this more dominant role, in the storyline. So give me one fun experience that you had while filming throughout the years.
Well, last season we filmed a scene where me and Christina Hendricks were at a diner, and I was stuffing my face with ribs. And the funny thing about that scene is during that time period, I was plant-based at that time period. And I remember the director calling me a week prior and was like, Carlos, I understand that that you're plant-based, and we're having a really hard time trying to find vegan ribs that look like ribs. And
That's actually a very funny scene because you're kind of licking.
oh yeah, I was.
If you guys are not familiar with Good Girls, Carlos plays this kind of he's a badass. He's a scary man. He's like, don't mess with him. And I remember that scene because you're so intimidating in the role that you play, but he's kind of licking those ribs and kind of staring, Christina into the eyes. And I was like, what is really happening in this scene with the ribs? So
Right.
now that I know it wasn't real meat.
Oh no, it was real meat.
Oh, it was real meat. Okay.
It was real meat. That's the thing. Is like they couldn't find ribs, so what they did was they got these vegan riblets, and what I was doing, I was holding the riblet with my thumbs and the rib in front of it. So when I would bite into it, it looked like I was biting into the rib, but I was actually biting into the vegan riblet. And then they also gave me a spit bucket. But real quick before you switch over, something that I love about the show, and I think this also helps with the stigma on Latin and Black communities, right? That in so many films, they portray bad guys as only bad guys, right? And the thing that I love about Good Girls and the show and the writers, they're so incredible, is that we're humans also, right? We make bad decisions and stuff like that, but we love somebody, we laugh with somebody. You know what I'm saying? We're not bad guys all the time, right? To somebody, we're caring and we're loving. And I think the show does an incredible job on, showing that the human side of people that are just certain situations, that this is either how they have to survive or how they have to get ahead or whatever, you know what I mean? And I love that about our show, is that we're not just like these bad people that are just beating up old people and doing, robbing people. Like, they show us with our children, they show us loving somebody, they show us laughing, you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah, it's very touching, and it's very you connect with that individual, you connect with that character.
absolutely.
But I can't wait to see the next season and kind of see how your role is going to be, because it's funny, it's a comical show, so we definitely appreciate you sharing that story.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
David, you want to kind of
Well, actually, I'm flipping back on you, just being me, and I think that was a perfect segue, because I think there were two of my favorite TV shows that normalized going to see a therapist. One being The Sopranos, the second one being Billions, which you were in, Carm. So
I was that's a secret. That's a secret. Now I'm
my
joking.
favorite shows. So
Yeah,
kudos to Hollywood for working that in. And what do you have coming up?
I'm here now. I'm creating awareness. I'm creating amazing things that you'll help me kind of giving back to our community.
Gotcha.
Deonte, I don't want to put you in the spot, but you said you were kind of that, spoken author. Give us something. Give us a little poem. Give us a taste of your skills.
Let's go.
Yo, yeah, you put me on the spot. I wasn't ready for that.
You're on stage now.
Yeah, no, but what I got coming up is more poetry videos, mental health videos. But right now, my baby is this. You can't see it. It's my card game. It's Bible trivia. It's called Gone Fishing. That's basically what I'm pushing right now. Working, which is what I'm about to hop on a call for in 2 minutes. But yeah, no, I really appreciate this opportunity. It was great talking with all you guys as well.
Well, hopefully this is the beginning of our ongoing relationship as mental health advocate. I definitely appreciate each and one of you. I appreciate your time. Once again, before we leave, if you guys want to share your social media kind of handles and kind of, I'm reading the comments right now on the Facebook Live, and everybody's like, what are their handles? How do we reach to them? As far as just, getting some more of that advocacy when it comes to awareness and mental health. Carlos, you want to share yours?
Yeah, my Instagram is the_real_Carlos Aviles. And my Twitter is body_marked up because of the tattoos and stuff.
Awesome. I would have never guessed.
No, never. I wash these off after this.
Yeah, you do. David, what's your social media handles?
It is DA, like David Anderson 3, because I'm the third. DATHREE, and that's on Instagram and Twitter. And just shout out to the Heist Agency. So I've gone from promoting parties to promoting products and promoting people.
All right, before give me 10 seconds of we didn't talk about the Heist Agency and the people behind that you represent and that you work for, because these are individuals that are making an impact within our culture, within our Houston culture, and you have a very diverse group. Can you just share about 30 seconds about the Heist Agency?
Yeah, now business partners with my co-creator DJ Mr. Rogers, and we represent a really dope group of creators here, from DJs, visual artists, muralists, public speakers, etc. So glad to be doing that and connecting these people with the right brands.
Awesome. And Deonte, we need a snippet. Give us 2 sentences now. 20 seconds.
Actually, I gotta hop off because a call just came through. But my social media is
you're good. Just share your social media handle.
Yeah, it's just at Deonte Scott on Instagram and Facebook, and on that Instagram, it'll have the handles to my other pages and businesses as well. So it's been a pleasure. Thank y'all.
Yeah, take it easy.
So everyone that's commenting, this is going to be on our Facebook Live, our NAMI Greater Houston. So you can just go ahead and watch it and replay it. We're also going to put any information on our pages and our social media at NAMI Greater Houston GH on Instagram, and then just NAMI Greater Houston on our Facebook page. So thank you guys. Giving Tuesday, join us on our website, and I appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and then we'll be in touch. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Carmen. Thanks,
All right.
All right, man. Take it easy, David.